Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazda. On today's show, we check in with the Mayor of Ames. My guest today is Mayor Campbell. Mayor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's been a while since we've had you here, and we're at the beginning of a brand new year, and it gives us a good opportunity to look back on the year 2014, which has some historical significance for Ames.
Well, it certainly does. As you know, on December 17th, we had Platting Day, which capped a wonderful year-long sesquicentennial celebration. I can't begin to count the number of volunteers that participated in a whole wide variety of activities. Maybe one of the most enduring of those activities is planting 150 trees to hopefully last us into the next 150 years.
It really was a great year, and I think for a lot of people, they learned to say the word sesquicentennial.
Maybe not spell it, but say it.
But say it. 150 years of our existence, Ames is truly a success story. You mentioned the tree planting as one of the legacy projects, the second one being the mobile history trailer.
That's true, and that I'm ashamed to say I have yet to participate in seeing, but it is something in conjunction with the Ames Historic Society, and we're looking forward to that being a very welcome addition.
Absolutely. The Ames Historical Society has partnerships with the local schools and takes are planning to take their exhibits on the road. They do a lot with third graders, and what fun it'll be for our youngest Ames residents to see Ames history come to life through artifacts and different exhibits brought to them in the history trailer. Some of the other events through the year 2014 included the 4th of July celebration, which was really a lot of fun. The weather wasn't completely cooperative, but it was really a fun downtown 3-day event.
Well, it was, and then to bring the close to this, I think it gave everybody an opportunity not only to learn a great deal about past history, but launch us into what we're going to do for the next 150 years.
One of the things that I learned about in looking at Ames history was Ames mayor history. Now, I may be wrong on this, but it looks like at the end of your term, you'll have served the longest number of consecutive years as mayor of any of the previous Ames mayors.
Oh dear, I hadn't calculated that. They must have been much smarter than I am.
Well, you have Parley Sheldon, who was mayor 4 times in the city of Ames, but not 4 consecutive terms. And he's the only one that I could count that would actually have in more time than you. So clearly you have quite a commitment to this community.
Well, thank you very much, but that's interesting history. I'll have to tell my children.
So another way for those of us who are committed to Ames and are living here in Ames, another way to get involved now that the sesquicentennial is wrapped up is to volunteer. And a great way to volunteer to help the city that you love is to volunteer on a City of Ames Border Commission.
Well, indeed, I'm glad you asked. This is very timely because we are now in the recruitment stage for city boards and commissions. We do this once a year. And this probably is, I would say, one of the most difficult or challenging tasks I have. I believe we have 18 city boards and commissions which cover the whole gamut of responsibilities. Some of them have judicial responsibilities, some are advisory, some are policy makers themselves. So it takes different talents, different interests for each of the city boards and commissions. It's not very well paid. We do have one very enjoyable luncheon in March, but I'm afraid that is the only pay that comes. And so my task then is to fill the boards and commissions with people who have expressed interest, but it also is a challenge in looking at, we have a lot of very competent people who apply, and I'm always disappointed when I'm not able to always use all of them because I need to look at a balance of demographics, age, gender, professional interests, and so on. So people who apply one time, there may not be a slot for them right at that point, but probably will be a slot down the road. So as I say, I pat myself on the back perhaps in saying this is one of the most complicated and challenging but important jobs I have. So I'm very much looking forward to a lot of applications coming in.
So the boards, I think you try to find a balance on the board, like you said, that sort of represent the community as a whole, sort of a microcosm of the community in a board or commission. And as you mentioned, so many different boards and commissions with so many different subjects, ranging from the public library to the Parks and Recreation Commission to something a little bit more sophisticated like planning and zoning, a little bit more complicated. But these are opportunities to learn. So you don't necessarily need to have specific training.
You don't need to have specific training. I think you do need to have specific interests in that area. As a matter of fact, I think you could be overtrained for these. For example, I probably would shy away against putting say a librarian on the library board. I think that we are looking for people who are indeed representative of the lay community.
One of the other boards, a very interesting board, is always the Public Art Commission, and you don't stack it with artists.
You don't, but I'm always interested. It is the largest commission and a very hard-working one that has a variety of subsets of projects going on under their commission umbrella. Frankly, many of these subsets are not ones that are assigned to them by ordinance, but are ones that they have seen a need for and taken on themselves. For example, the neighborhood art program, the downtown art program, and a whole variety of things. They've been responsible when they were responsible for when we had the what was it called? The stick art up at Ada Hayden. That's not the term. That's not the art term, I'm sure.
He was a sapling weaver.
It was.
It was Patrick Doherty, stick weaver, and that was a great example, and followed up with the Inuksuk by our Alaskan artist. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so I think that everybody I have talked to on that board over the years has found it very enjoyable and has any number of ideas that frankly they just don't have time to get them all done. But I think Ames is a better place as a result of having a public art commission and all the good work they do.
Again, you mentioned you just have to have an interest, perhaps a passion for one of these topics, and I think you have to have the time that you want to donate. Again, you mentioned the only pay you might get for the year, your compensation is a luncheon.
Well, that's true.
And we really ask that people just come to the meetings and participate.
Well, and thank you for bringing up that time issue, because all of these boards and commissions do already have set a specific time in which they meet, be it an evening, be it late afternoon, be it the noon hour. And so that doesn't necessarily work into everybody's schedule, and I'm not even sure that that's included on the application. And so if anybody is interested in applying, say, for the Parks and Recreation Commission, I always ask them if they'd be interested, if they can call me and say, now, is this something that does fit in my schedule? I know the Public Art Commission tends to meet during the noon hour, mm-hmm. and that, of course, would eliminate some people. But we try to have it as convenient for everyone as possible in the meeting time. Also, I always encourage, I certainly don't know every name that comes in on those applications, and so I always would encourage anybody who has a real interest to call, introduce him or herself to me, and let me know what background and interests they have, so that, frankly, I do a better job of making appointments that way.
So people who want more information about the different boards and commissions, and again, we mentioned there are 18 of them, obviously on our website there is a little description and a time and day of the meeting, so you can check your schedule and see. Maybe it wouldn't work for you to be at the noon, a noon meeting, but maybe you would be okay at a night meeting. And then it gives a little synopsis, like you mentioned. Some of the commissions and boards are policymakers, advisory. They are making perhaps art decisions. Just a lot of different activities that each board or commission takes part in.
Well, and I also would add that I think if anybody is interested down the road in running for city council or running for mayor, this is a good place to see if you really like it.
A lot of our council members and you yourself get your start as a volunteer in a board or a commission.
That's true.
And which board did you serve on?
Well, in fact, I was not on a board per se, but it was a task force that was called the Transit Advisory Committee when we were massaging the idea of whether or not there could be a jointly funded and managed bus system in Ames.
I think that worked out pretty well.
I believe that it's they're running out their ears in riders this year.
Well, again, that information is on our website. As you can also, you may apply online for a board or commission position. You can turn in an application or pick one up at the clerk's office. Lots of different ways to get information and to apply. The date that you need to apply by?
The final date we're taking applications is Friday, February 6th at 5 o'clock, not at midnight, at 5 o'clock. And we will look over all of the applications at that point. I might add that the numbers of that are put out there in terms of slots available are perhaps a little fluid because we are right at this point in the process of being in contact with all of the incumbents, some of whom have already served their max, some of whom are still eligible for reappointment. So those responses are still coming in. So if we have something that says there are 2 positions available, there may be an incumbent filling one of them, and at this point I can't answer that question.
Okay. Well, again, check out that information at cityofames.org. Look under boards. Look under city clerk, and then boards and commissions. You can get descriptions of each of board and commission when they meet, and you can also fill out your application online. Well, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I look forward to getting good responses from the public.
Another way to get involved in City of Ames activities is to participate in our budget hearings. Those are coming up the first week in February. Budget hearings are a great opportunity to learn more and more about where your tax dollars are spent as each department goes over in brief their budget. You can get more information on those budget hearing schedules at our website at cityofames.org. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.